From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
With the Colonial and the stories that we get are pretty harrowing.
Fix it or demolish it. How a lawsuit from the city of Billings could spell out the future of the Colonial Apartments.
Legally, I understand they can't restrict visitors, and that's 100% what's happening right now.
The latest in a case of suspected elderly kidnapping, with the accused telling MTN News she did not kidnap her mother.
He was perfectly calm about the whole situation, which was scary.
And acting fast. How a father-son duo's trip to Walmart led to them stopping a scary situation. Those stories and much more coming up in the next hour. Good morning and welcome back to Montana This Morning on this Wednesday, June 11th. I'm Charlie Klepps here with Miller Robson.
Man, good morning, everyone. Well, we made it to the middle of the week.
We did.
Got a bit bumpy yesterday, and we have a chance of seeing some severe storms today as well. It was another warmer than average day yesterday, well above our normal of 75. We hit 87, our low of 61, about 10 degrees above the norm. Top gust yesterday of near 40 miles an hour at the airport. Not any really much measurable rain here in Billings. We may have a better opportunity today. In fact, over the next couple of days, we have more of that moisture coming into play. Now, we're in the hole for the month in terms of the moisture, but for the year, we're still pacing well ahead for this time of the season. So this kind of give you an idea of what we saw over the last 12 hours. Some areas saw some hail. We did see some hail there in Roundup, Klein, also in Buffalo. To a smaller extent, there's a chance we could see that today with these storms that are coming through today. Gusty winds 60 miles an hour and heavy pockets of heavy rainfall will be the main concerns. Now, we still see a little bit of rain off to our east. Most of us starting off pretty quiet, and then it'll get bumpy later this afternoon. 50s and 60s right now across the area. Here in Billings at the airport, we're at 60. Winds out the southwest at about 9 miles an hour. Starting off pretty quiet out there by lunchtime today into the mid to upper 70s. Heading home today, mid 80s. And then maybe by the drive at 5 is when we start to see that threat of severe storms coming into play. It's a 1 of 5, a marginal risk. We'll explain what that means. And we still have the possibility of more severe weather moving forward. We'll take a look at that too coming up.
Awesome. Thanks, Miller. Appreciate it.
You got it, bud.
Another twist in the future of the crime-ridden Colonial Apartments. City leaders say the case through code enforcement will move forward in district court despite the recent death of owner John Scoggie. Billings is suing to force repairs or demolish the building, citing ongoing code violations and hundreds of police calls. However, as our David J. reports, that process looks like it has been delayed.
Police action all the time, very frequently there, from theft to assault to drugs, stolen vehicle. More of the violent crimes there, has a history of that.
Catherine Card lives just a few blocks from the Colonial Apartments and sees vehicles going through the alley near her home. She wants the city to do something, but fears closing it down will leave some homeless.
The broader ramifications of closing that down and then caring for the people that are in it I don't think that is even being considered.
The city of Billings filed a lawsuit in 2023 against owner John Scoggie for code violations that included peeling paint, broken windows, roof and foundation damage, and some basement rentals having windows nailed shut.
For quite a few months, if not years, we've been getting complaints about that property, the condition of the property, the living conditions in the property, also the public nuisance side of it.
Kevin Ifland, assistant city administrator, started working with the city as a police officer and says the Colonial has had problems for decades.
The conditions of that property were poor 30 years ago. And so, I don't think a lot has ever been done to that property since that time.
Ifland says a trial date was scheduled for October, but now that's unknown since Scoggie recently died. The city first needs to hear from the court and who will represent his estate.
We are on an automatic stay at this point with the Colonial Apartments and the legal action.
Ifland says owners will often bring the property into compliance before it ever gets to a lawsuit, but that is no longer possible as they wait for the result of the city's court filing.
We could see anything from somebody wanting to invest, some money into the property, bring it back up to standards, all the way to demoing that property and let's, see something, else be built in that location.
And that's not what I would like to see. I would truly like to see something good come out of this, and that would be shelter.
That was David J. reporting. Thanks, David. This morning, the search continues for the missing hiker who was swept into East Rosebud Creek on Sunday afternoon. This is new drone video from Red Lodge Fire Rescue showing the location where the 23-year-old man went under the rushing waters. Rescue crews continue to search from the ground and the air Tuesday, focusing on areas where someone might get caught, like rocks and logs. Searchers did not go into the backcountry and will resume operations later this morning. Red Lodge Fire says this video, which starts at Rimrock Lake and cascades several hundred yards downstream, shows just how dangerous and difficult the conditions can be. This morning, a major change in a case of suspected elderly kidnapping, as federal charges are now filed right here in Billings. It started last Monday when Tama Lorraine Downley took her mother, Donna Prescott, from a West End rehabilitation center. The very next day, both women told MTN News that it wasn't a kidnapping and claimed to have the paperwork to prove it. But as our Mac Carmack reports, the Yellowstone County attorney sees it differently.
Tama Lorraine Downley is in the process of being extradited from South Dakota to Montana based on those charges. In the charging documents from Yellowstone County Attorney Scott Twido, it questions some of the testimony Lorraine said happened during that alleged kidnapping.
I feel safe and loved and cared for.
That was Donna Prescott just one short week ago. At that time, the 76-year-old was missing, with police calling her a suspected kidnapping victim, presumably taken by her daughter, Tama Lorraine.
Legally, I understand they can't restrict visitors, and that's 100% what's happening right now.
Lorraine had previously contacted me, claiming she wasn't allowed to visit with her mom at Aspen Meadows. So when I learned she was missing, I gave her a call and found out the two were in South Dakota, a detail we passed along to Billings PD. Lorraine was adamant her mom was not kidnapped.
Now my life is on hold, and I can't go back home to work until I can get some family time with my mom.
However, Yellowstone County District Attorney Scott Twido sees it much differently.
That information comes from the investigation that's presented to my office.
Lorraine is now behind bars charged with custodial interference. Her mom soon to be returned to Aspen Meadows.
Yesterday, she was in a hospital facility in South Dakota, and there was caregivers from this community who were going to be sent to go get her.
Charging documents spell out what police say happened. They say Donna, who has dementia, lacked the capacity to make medical and financial decisions for herself. And it was not her children, but rather her 90-year-old aunt, identified here as MD, who was the power of attorney with legal permission and custody over Donna. The documents also say that Lorraine and her brother took Donna from the home after pressuring MD, refusing to leave her home until she, quote, gave them permission to visit Donna. MD reported she was in fear of physical harm.
Basically, what it means is someone without lawful authority interferes with somebody who has lawful authority over a person, such as a child or a person who's been deemed mentally incompetent.
Lorraine continues to insist she was granted power of attorney before taking her mom.
So there are questions surrounding that, but I have to defer to the charging document.
Once Donnelly is extradited to Montana, she will appear in front of a district judge to address the charge, which has a punishment of up to 10 years in prison, a fine of up to $50,000, or both. In Billings, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
Opponents of a voter-approved measure to enshrine abortion rights in the Montana Constitution are seeking to block it from taking effect. However, it's not based on its content, rather the way the state handles proposed amendments. The Montana Family Foundation is asking the Montana Supreme Court to step in before Constitutional Initiative 128 takes effect July 1st. The plaintiffs argue that the state constitution requires the entire text be printed on the ballot, not just the summary. They say Montanans who didn't receive a voter information pamphlet could not look it over before voting. Voters approved the measure last November with a 58% of the vote. Turning to an ongoing situation in California, we are entering day 6 of protests over federal immigration raids in Los Angeles, with yesterday's latest demonstrations leading to President Donald Trump doubling the number of National Guard troops sent to patrol the city to 4,000. It comes after dozens were arrested Monday night, with some protesters throwing flares and fireworks at police. The president has not ruled out invoking the Insurrection Act if protests spiral out of control, and says troops will remain in the city until there is no danger. Many city leaders, such as the mayor, insist the uninvited military presence is unnecessary and will only escalate tensions. A 30-year-old man suffered minor injuries Tuesday morning after being gored by a bison in Yellowstone National Park. The New Jersey man was in the Upper Geyser Basin near Old Faithful when a group of visitors approached the animal too closely. The man was treated and transported at the scene by emergency medical personnel. This is the second bison-related injury in Yellowstone this year, following a previous goring on May 7th. In comparison, there were 2 reported incidents in 2024 and only 1 in 2023. Imagine this: you're shopping at Walmart when someone smashes open a gun case and reaches for a weapon. That's what a father and son from Billings witnessed, and in that split second, they made a choice to act. Their brave intervention may have stopped a dangerous situation from turning deadly. Our Hannah Pettiferi has their story and how quick thinking made all the difference.
Right place, right time.
It all began just like any other trip to Walmart.
This isn't happening.
Jeremy and Michael Miller were busy shopping for fishing gear when they heard something that didn't quite sound right.
At first I thought it was an employee like slamming pallets, because that's what it sounded like, was just like bam, bam.
But it wasn't an employee slamming a pallet.
Everything about this was wrong.
The men say they witnessed another customer attempting to steal a gun from the gun case.
The guy hops over the counter where the knives are, takes the tire iron thing, smashes the glass. Glass goes flying, hits my dad in the face.
He says things escalated from there as glass littered the floor.
So when he broke the glass, he actually reached for that hunting rifle, and that's when I stopped the whole thing.
Michael Miller sprang into action, slamming the thief with his body, blocking the counter. He asked his son to grab some zip ties to tie the man up until the cops arrived.
I locked him up, detained him. The first thing they did is they cuffed him and took him out.
Billings police have not charged the man or released his name, as they say he was suffering a mental health episode.
As for Walmart,
we also reached out to them and were directed to this media inquiry form, where we asked about Walmart's response and whether protocols were followed by employees at the store.
now, days after those scary moments, this father and son are reflecting upon how differently this could have ended.
I think if my dad and me weren't there, like, there could have been some serious damage, collateral damage to happen, you know.
Potential violence averted, all because of a vigilant son and his father, who didn't think twice about jumping into action.
Some days he can't hardly walk, and to see him do something like that was pretty cool.
I think we just did whatever needed to be done.
In Billings, Hannah Pettiferi, MTN News.